Alright, hey everybody. So, we're here for another edition of 10 Ton Hammer Talks. We've got a pretty sweet show today. I don't know if you guys saw from the little teaser intro there. We've got Labyrinth on today. It is a kind of brand new, upcoming CCG RPG. I won't get into too much of the details yet. I'll let the experts do that, but really interesting game. Myself and Jeremy actually got to take a peek at it last week, or maybe a little bit longer than that. We really liked what we saw, so we're hoping that you guys will enjoy it too. We'll give you guys links to the Kickstarter and things like that when we get there. But I'm gonna go ahead and pass it over to Jeremy so that he can give you our spiel, and we'll get everything else set up here. And let me unmute him too, so that would be good. You are golden.
All right, and now that I am unmuted, I will try that again. Yeah, I'm actually really excited for this show. As Alex said, we got a little sneak peek at the game. We both really liked what we saw, so it's very cool that we're going to get to chat with some of the members of the team behind the game. So before we do, anyone who's here regularly probably has a speech memorized by now, but here we go. As you know, Alex and I do both work for 10 Ton Hammer. We have a lot of good people over there, a lot of good content. We do hope that you guys will go to 10tonhammer.com like every day, just all day. Just that's all you should really be doing, really. But yeah, you know, we have a lot of different content there for a bunch of different games, a bunch of different genres, guides, features, news, all sorts of good stuff from people that actually care about what they're writing about. So yeah, the more you guys support 10 Ton Hammer, the longer we get to keep doing stuff like this and getting cool guests like we have today. So yeah, please check us out if you haven't already. I mean, if you haven't, like, come on.
Yeah, definitely. So I've got another little teaser trailer for you guys. We're going to run that really quick, and we will bring the developers on to talk about the game with you guys. So enjoy the show. Alright, so that was a little bit of the show. You guys will see, welcome on here. We've got Bradley Fulton is one of the development team members here. He's going to be joining us today for the show. We also have Chris Schultz will be on later on, and then you guys have Wayne there in the chat. He's going to be answering questions in the chat with you guys. So I'll go ahead. Bradley, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe a little bit of background on who you are, your experience, and what you are working on for the game?
Hi, yeah. So my name is Bradley Fulton. I'm the creative director here at Free Range Games. I'm also the lead designer on Labyrinth. I've been working in the game industry for about 13 years now. I've been working with these guys here at Free Range Games for almost that entire time. We used to run a company called Shaba that was owned by Activision. We worked on a lot of titles there, Tony Hawk games, Spider-Man games, and then about 5 years ago we split off and formed our own studio again, and ever since. I started personally as an artist, and then kind of moved through all kinds of different roles over that time. I've run projects before. I've been designer for a while, but this is the first time that I've worked on a game that's my own original design. So yeah, Labyrinth started really just as a personal project, something I was doing on the side time, but it very quickly grew into something that the whole team was working on, because everyone was really excited about the idea. And really, the genesis was that I wanted to make a collectible card game that really was at home on a digital space, PC or on tablet. Because at the time that we started this, that really wasn't a game that existed. Since then, of course, there have been some other titles that have come around that have started to explore that space. But at the time, that was really the strongest motivator. And I was talking with one of our programmers here, a good friend of mine, about it a lot. And he said, you know, what if you had a collectible card game, but you had these two different modes? You had offense and you had defense. You really had two different kinds of decks. And they were, when you were playing this adventure, you were playing, you know, heroes, but your opponent was playing bosses, and he was playing the dungeon basically. And I was like, that is it. That is awesome. And that was really kind of the moment, and everything grew from there.
Yeah, that's awesome, because like I'm always like interested to hear, you know, where game ideas come about, and I know this is something you guys have, you know, certainly been passionate about for a long time. So we definitely want to delve into that a bit. So we kind of talked about where it comes from. I think one of the interesting parts about the game and kind of its inception was maybe talk a little bit about, you know, how it started as not actually a PC game, right?
Yeah. Well, it was in a paper prototype form for maybe about 6 months. We were just playing really just as a pure collectible card game. We had a dungeon set up with you know, a bunch of little miniatures, and that was also part of it. You know, when I was growing up, I was a really big fan, not just of collectible card games like Magic. I was also a really big Warhammer fan, and played a lot of tabletop battle games, and wanted to kind of combine both of those two genres. You know, that it really seemed like something that there was a natural fit there, and even in the paper space, that's not something that has really been explored very much. So that's where it started, and we had it. You know, it was a fully playable prototype, and just working on that in that form. That was like just the pure design of that. It was so much fun.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. I've always enjoyed both of those genres as well. I remember playing Magic for as long as I can remember, basically, when it came out, and then a lot of Dungeons and Dragons. So, and that was the tabletop. I kind of played it more of the tabletop Dungeons and Dragons. So that was a lot of cool stuff. I've always been interested in both, and I've never seen, you know, anything. It was kind of intriguing when we first looked at your guys' game. I'd never even considered the concept of actually having a CCG and that type of dungeon RPG experience being merged. So that was really interesting to me, as being fans of both. Just something I'd never thought of, and totally blindsided me. So it was pretty cool to see. I know that crossing genres is really difficult to do too. So it's pretty bold, but what you guys have so far looks really solid over there. Can you talk a little bit about kind of maybe what you feel like your strengths are in the game over there, and what you feel like, you know, you're bringing to the table that other games aren't?
Well, yeah. So that's just the thing. You know, when I mentioned that we wanted to create a game that doesn't exist, really at the core of it, and then the CCG that exists in the digital space, the core of that was taking the collectible card game mechanics that we're all very familiar with, but combining them with something that takes place, you know, in a 3D world. So you've actually got characters, you know, you're moving through a dungeon, you actually got the models and animations, and you've got this living, breathing world that the gameplay is taking place in. And that's something that you really only could do on a computer with a digital game.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, like, I feel that that's kind of an important thing too, is you want to create that level of immersion, because that's kind of the feeling that you get right when you're sitting around with your friends, you know, and you're playing, say, D&D, you know, is you're all working together to like kind of create that type of environment. So then I guess the question becomes, you know, how do you do that for the single player? So I guess that's the answer, right? Is creating that, you know, fully immersive 3D world where, you know, the one player can get in and still get that full experience.
Yeah, it was trying to create something where it's still a player versus player experience, because all the that you're going on, all the dungeons that you're delving into, those are all set up originally by some other player, but the game ultimately feels like a single player adventure, because you're playing, the gameplay is also asynchronous. Your opponent doesn't have to be online when you're raiding their dungeon, so you're playing it at your own pace, and in that way it really kind of feels like a traditional kind of PC RPG, and that you're going on your adventure and you have this series of quests and you got these things you're trying to accomplish, and you're not waiting on another player to make his move. And so, in that way, it's not just a hybrid of CCG and RPG, it's also a hybrid of a PvP game and a PvE game.
Yeah, that part was another part I was going to ask you about, because it's really interesting how, you're taking this asynchronous, you're setting up the game in a way so that, with this asynchronous multiplayer, players are still able to compete against each other, but you take away a ton of the pressure from that, PvP feel, and you kind of rig it in a way that it feels like people are playing against, in a typical PvE experience. So it's a really interesting blend that I haven't seen really before. I guess the only place I would say I've seen it before is in, you see the wealth of Facebook type games out there, where you're playing kind of like the Farmville, but they're the ones that have the PvP elements. It reminds me of that, so that kind of intrigues me, because I haven't really seen that, which has been a successful business model for those Facebook games. I haven't seen that translated into a more serious gaming environment, so it's going to be really intriguing to watch that play out and see how players embrace the PvP PvE blend.
Yeah, and there's another dimension to that. You mentioned, some of the very casual games, the Facebook kind of games. There's in those games, and then also in MMOs these days, and some other games that I could think of. There's more of a sense these days of an expectation that the game is still going when you're not actually online. That there's a persistence to it, and there's the excitement, checking it a couple times a day or getting an update. You get a notification on your phone that says, "Hey, you've been raided." We wanted to make something where you're really kind of engaging with the game at all times, and even when you're not playing it, you're thinking about what might be going on when in your dungeon, and you might be thinking about wanting to play, and so that was the other part of it. There's an advantage to having it be asynchronous even for the defender, in that you set up your defensive deck, and then you don't necessarily know exactly how that's going to perform against the attackers until you get a notification. Then you check it and you're like, how did I do? And you check the replay. But that you're kind of, in a way, you're always playing the game.
Right. So let's give we can't go super in detail, but let's give a little bit of an idea to people who are hearing about the game for the first time. Give them an idea of kind of how it works. We talked a little bit about you need to put together your deck both for raiding other people's dungeons and for defending yours. Can you just give us a little bit of insight into what that process is like, how you get the cards, and what putting those decks together will do for you? Okay.
So from the start, everything that's every piece of gameplay in the game is a card. So that's how you'll be acquiring everything. You open packs. That's what you'll get when you first play the game. You'll get a basic hero for free and their basic deck, and you'll unlock more cards for that hero. So that's how you'll start. The game is free to play. But then in additional packs, you'll get more heroes, you'll get more bosses, you'll get spells for the heroes, you'll get minions and traps for the bosses, and that'll give you all the pieces you need to build your decks. So you build two different kinds of decks. You build decks for your heroes, and you build decks for your bosses. So heroes would be adventure cards. The hero decks consist of spells and attacks that the heroes in that tactical turn-based gameplay. So it's really one kind of game. And then on defense, you build decks for your bosses. And your bosses you'll arrange in your dungeon. We're calling them labyrinths because they're not literal dungeons. We have kind of a new take on what that is. But you'll have your labyrinth is a series of rooms, and each one of those rooms is defended by a boss deck, the boss and his boss deck. And the boss deck consists, like I mentioned, of minions, which are creatures that you'll summon to defend it, of traps, which are conditional things that'll go off based on what the attacking player is doing, and then spells and abilities that the boss himself will actually use. In a way, just like the hero. So you'll build those decks. You'll set up your labyrinth. That ends up being a passive thing. Your labyrinth then generates resources for you. That's really why you want to have it. And the bigger your labyrinth is, which you'll time, the bigger that your labyrinth is, the more resources that you're going to generate from it. Then on the other side, you've got your heroes, which you'll put together into a party of 3 heroes. Which heroes you put into your party, that's entirely up to you. A really balanced party would have a character in each of the classic RPG roles. So you've got your tank, your healer, and your DPS, but it's entirely up to you. So it's kind of there's a new layer to deck building there. You're building decks for each of your heroes, but then you're combining multiple decks to form kind of a meta strategy for your party. But you take your party, and then you go on a raid. You'll be matched with another player. You'll be matched with their labyrinth. And then at the start of that raid, you get to see a selection of their bosses. So labyrinths they exist as tiers. So you'll see the bosses on their first tier, and you get to pick which one of those you want to fight. You attack that. It starts an encounter. That's the turn-based tactical part of the game. And then if you win that encounter, you'll see the next inner tier of their labyrinth, and you get to pick which boss you're going to fight of that. And then if you beat that, you get all the way to the center of their labyrinth, and you fight their last boss. And there's always one last boss. And then if you defeat that, then you've defeated the entire raid. Now, at any point in that raid, any point in between those fights, if you get the first fight, and you said, I don't know if I can go any further than this, your health carries over from each of those fights. That's the one part that's persistent. So if you imagine if you were playing a game of Magic and you got to the end of the game and you only had 1 health, but you managed to defeat your guy. Well, the next fight you're still going to have 1 health with a healing bonus. So you get to rest for a little bit. But you might choose. I don't know if I can make it, or I really crushed that guy. I'm going to go to the next tier. There's a bit of a double down there. But if you get all the way through, then you get all the loot that was possible to get from that raid. But if you only got through 1 room and you said, I'm going to go ahead and retire, then you get, some portion of that. So, in that way, it kind of feels like an adventure, and that you're still kind of in control of what you're doing from fight to fight. And that's really the overview summary. There's kind of a lot of moving parts in there, but that's the game.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be fairly accessible to to people that haven't really maybe tried some of these game types. And I think a cool thing about it is that when you're pulling off the 2 genres, the people that are familiar with dungeon crawlers are going to have less to learn, and just the CCG elements, and vice versa. CCG players are just going to have to learn a little bit of the tactical real-time strategy for the adventuring side. So it sounds like it's going to be pretty accessible for both extremes of the audience you guys are looking to answer. You talked a lot about how the mechanics are going to kind of work from a PC sense. Were you guys planning to? I saw that did you guys have iOS and Android on there?
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
And
in fact,
go ahead.
Yeah. Because we're using Unity, the Unity game engine, so releasing the game on multiple platforms is actually really quite easy for us technically. The main problems that we need to challenge, or the main challenges that we need to solve, are just have to do with interface and look and feel. But for the most part, this kind of game translates really well to touch devices. So we've always had that in mind. And when you create your account for Labyrinth, you'll be creating that account across all those devices. So if you have both a tablet and you're playing the game on PC, you can play those raid on the PC and then finish the raid on your tablet if you wanted to do so.
That's really cool. One question I actually did have before we move on, when we talked about going further through the raid into the next area of the labyrinth. So let's say I defeat the first boss, and I'm like, okay, I want to try the next one, and I fail. Then if the next boss gets me, do I get anything from that raid, or did I forfeit my rewards by getting too greedy?
You are in fact getting too greedy in that case. Okay. Yeah, so that's the real risk, right? We want to make sure that delving into any of these dungeons feels like a real. You're really in danger, and so that's in a way that's what you have to lose.
is everything that you would have gotten on that raid. Yeah.
Okay, good to know. Alrighty. I will want to get more into some of the gameplay aspects. At the end of the show, we will have a segment for audience Q&A. If you guys have any like specific gameplay questions or anything, please hold on to them. But definitely, bring them our way during that Q&A section because I think it's important everybody gets a good feel for the game. I think, speaking of Kickstarter, I think this is a good time to let people know kind of what's going on with that and where the project currently is and what you're hoping to gain from Kickstarter and all that. And if Wayne wants to give his input on that too, that would certainly.
Yeah, Wayne.
There he is.
Hi guys, everyone on chat. This is me. I've been with Free Range Games now for 4 years.
Yeah, 4 years.
So I was the first non-Shaba guy, the non-Activision guy to join this group, and I gingerly approached, and they've let me in, and I've been able to help these guys out. And this is the best thing that I've ever done. I used to be in the semiconductor industry doing hardware, and I should have been in games all my life. And then about a year ago, we were sitting around at our company Christmas party, thinking, okay, what do we do next? And there were a lot of projects that we were talking about, and Chris and I, we had probably a lot too much to drink, but I was like, hey, Chris, arm around him. I'm like, we got to let Labyrinth keep going. This is one of the most exciting things that we have. Because when I was a kid, I played D&D just like everybody else here, and really remember that. I was never a big card player, but Bradley got me in to the gateway drug of Hearthstone, and I really look forward to this new thing that we're creating. I'm in charge of the Kickstarter campaign. Right now, I help out in the company to do a lot of different things, both software and business. We're shooting for about exactly $150,000 target goal for our Kickstarter. We're very very happy that in the last 3 days we're over a third of the way. I think today we're at 35% already funded, so we've got a great head start, and there are almost the rest of the month to go. We definitely would love all the support that we can get from you guys. Obviously, back financially, even for $1. We've had a lot of real big backers come in right away because they were excited about our project, and we're super stoked for that. But now we have to get the backer numbers up, and every backer really matters. And plus, we want to start building a community. I had the fun of building a community for one of our web browser games we made in the past, and over 4 million people have played that game in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And I've gotten to know a lot of those players. Some of them are already backers in Labyrinth as well. And so it's cool to have kind of those relationships with people. And I want to, start that here with Labyrinth. And anytime anyone has questions about the game, I want to be able to just tell them about it. If it was things with it being wrong or they have good ideas, I definitely want to help Bradley figure out what do we do about that, and be responsive to the player base. We are an indie outfit, so that's the advantage that we have, is being able to build that kind of community that a real large publisher couldn't.
Yeah, it's something that it's worth repeating. The strength of games like this, the strength really comes from the community. Because the game, even though it may feel like a PvE game, it's a PvP game at its core. And so having an active and a really enthusiastic player base is really will make the game shine. And so anyone who's interested in this, I really recommend that you tell your friends about it, and spread the word, because the bigger our community is, just the more fun the game is going to be.
I was going to say, you briefly touched on it, but I was really relieved to see when you guys added the $1 and $10 levels to it. I know, it may seem weird, but with it being a free to play game, a lot of players may feel like, oh, I'm going to wait, regardless of what the rewards are, but you have that $1 and the $10 option and a few little things to get somebody started, I think make a huge difference in campaigns when you get a good range of pricing. So I was really relieved to see those, and see that, you know, answering to people that maybe play a lot of free-to-play games because they don't have a lot of money to throw in at one time. So having that option is really good. So could you guys maybe talk about maybe your bottom 3 tiers and share those? Share kind of what people might get from it.
Just an idea, you know, what people can get out of backing.
Okay. Yeah. Do you want to just real quick?
Yeah. Well, you start talking, I'll bring it up.
Yeah. I just want to say it was something we wanted to do just to be responsive. But probably midway through the first day, we heard a lot of people, friends of ours even, saying, "Hey, where's the $1 tier? Where's the cheaper tier? You know, I'd like to back, but I don't have a lot of cash right now." And so we took those into consideration, and first of all, for the $1 pledge, like all the other pledges, we just have our heartfelt thanks to offer. A lot of appreciation. Like I said, just being counted as a backer is really important for us. That helps us in all of the different websites that rank popularities of campaigns. And the higher the number of backers that you have, the higher that you go up in the list. And obviously, the more people that will see it. Like any Kickstarter campaign that's crowdfunded, we need exposure. And so, you know, a person that backs for a dollar really does help that. And then because you back, we want to be able to offer you something throughout the whole life of the game that sets you apart from everybody. So we'll have a very nice treatment under username. We're calling it Backer Badge. A lot of that's to be decided because we're still looking out some of the UI for the game. But we want to make it very prominent and something that you can just brag about and show off, and everyone will know, hey, you were right there from the beginning. For the $10 tier, this is basically for the people who want to try the game out. Eventually, we'll release on Steam. It'll be in early access. We'll charge $10. And our intention is also to give every player that purchases early access the equivalent of $10 worth of card packs. So when the game eventually goes free to play at full release, they felt like they got their money's worth. And they weren't cheated in any way. Right. And the advantage for early access is obviously being able to get in before everybody else does. And get an experience with the game and kind of getting ahead of the curve. And obviously people coming into early access want to get in early. People backing at the Kickstarter level, they want to be in even earlier. So what we're offering to them is the early access key as well as the 7 packs, just like they would get later if they purchase on Steam. But they also get the backer badge, name and credits. If we do hit our goal and have any stretchable rewards after that, they'll be entitled to all of those goodies as well, for the same price that they would end up paying later. So it's a great way to get a taste of the game and get started with it. And we think we a little bit tongue-in-cheek, I guess, appropriately named it The Apprentice, because this is where you get started with our free-to-play game.
Right. Nice. Okay, so I mean that's definitely good. You know, trying to make sure people really feel like they're getting something out of backing. So I think that's important. People really feel like they're. I think it's good for things like this, where they can start feeling like they're kind of connecting with you guys, and really connecting with the game as a whole, and then really feeling like they're getting something out of backing you. I think even as you said, just something prominent in the game that said, "Hey, I was backing, I was here early." I definitely think is good. Makes people feel good about their decision to to back the game for sure.
Yeah, that $1, the little $1 perk is interesting because since it's going to be a free to play game, you are offering something that can stand out for somebody and say that they were there in the beginning, because there might be people that do end up playing it and filling it and making the game more enriched, like you said, Bradley, just by adding to the population and diversity and being more people in the game. So that's pretty cool, because a lot of $1 ones you see, they just kind of like say thanks, thanks for contributing. So it's kind of cool to have something that will set you apart a little bit. So that's pretty awesome.
We won't be able to implement every single idea that a player may have, but we definitely want to take all the feedback in mind. We're trying to be very responsive as we develop the game, to make a game that our whole community wants to play. Obviously, we're kind of building it because we have a passion for this and we want to play it. But definitely, this world is big enough, and the world of Hyleia is big enough that a lot of players can give their input. And we really look forward to developing that relationship with people. If ever I'm too busy and I don't respond right away, just ping me again a couple times, or anyone else, and we'll get back to you guys. And then also one more thing for helping out. Backing financially is great, but we also need people to help just get the word out. And you can help by Facebook and Twitter and Reddit. Those 3 channels seem to be doing the best for us in terms of new people coming to our Kickstarter page. So I throw those 3 out there. If you want to do something a little bit more specific, like you say, I don't really know what I should post. If you go to our second update on our Kickstarter page, down at the bottom, there's 3 links. You can click through to each one of those, and it'll be easy peasy, and it'll be very helpful. So please go do that anytime before or after you back. Thanks.
You mentioned feedback, having player feedback. I actually got a chance just to pop into the forums you guys have really quick. Just yesterday I didn't realize you guys had them. So that might be something to talk about for people who have backed. Once you back the game, you can get involved in the forums there and start actually interacting with the team and giving feedback on what you like, what you don't like, and helping guide the game.
Yeah.
Yes, please do. Right now, the game website, obviously since the game's not yet finished, is pretty sparse. We do have the vanilla forums up. They're a free solution, so they look like a free solution. In the future, as we move forward and the game is released, I have every intention to help the company here build out a community portal that's a lot more interesting and engaging, and we have some real fresh ideas for that, but I think we'll save that discussion for another time. Suffice it to say, we would like the web community portal experience to be a lot more integrated with the game than you see with a lot of games right now. So it makes sense. So you can share decks, and maybe I've already said too much.
Here we go. All right, leak straight from the developers. I like that. This is probably early for this question. I'm going to put it out there because I know it's a question that people want to hear, and even if you can't say anything yet, it's fine. Do you have an approximate target dates, like we were talking about, early access on Steam, and then of course full release? Do we have? I mean, obviously those things change and they're very fluid, based on how things go. But do you have an idea of kind of when we're looking at those kinds of things?
Yeah, we're shooting for early access in the first half of 2016. And then official release, we can't really say any more than just sometime in 2016.
Right. Okay. That's good to know. This gives, kind of an idea for sure. Okay.
Looks like Chris is back.
Oh, fantastic.
All right.
Well,
yeah.
Hey, guys.
Welcome back.
Hey.
So
that'll lead us right into where we wanted to go next with the conversation, which is talking a little bit about free-range games and the background and experience and everything of the team. So first, Chris, why don't you give the audience a little intro to you, and we'll go from there.
I'm Chris. I'm the CEO of Free Range. This is actually our second company. A lot of us came from another console developer. We were called Shopix. We had started that, and we were actually bought by Activision at some point along the way, and made games like Tony Hawk and Spider-Man: Web of Shadows. Some pretty cool console games along the way. And it's funny, it's like Shaba and Free Range has a lot of parallels. the thing that I loved Shaba is actually kind of a funny story. It's actually a Japanese Yakuza word. And our sushi chef friend that told us the word, it's like, oh, he's trying to describe it. He's like, oh, it's so hard to translate to English, but you have to imagine that you're a Yakuza warlord and been in jail for 20 years, rightly so. But every day you look out to your cold steel bars and you see falcons flying, you hear the babbling of the brook, but you're trapped behind those bars. Shaba is the day that you're finally released and the prison gates swing open and you're met by your henchmen and you reach in your overcoat and you pull out a cigarette and you take a drag and you exhale Shaba. And so but really what it meant to us is it's freedom, is the ability to do what you want. A lot of what we try to do with Free Range is we really, when we're doing this, we just want to have the freedom to make the games that we dream about making. And that's what's so exciting about Labyrinth is there's this opportunity where it's like, it's kind of, it's a once in a lifetime type game to make. And it's just really exciting that you don't have somebody giving you market data and whatever. It's like, it's go with your heart. It's do what you know is right and just try to make the thing that you want to play more than anything. So it's really exciting.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Go ahead, Alex.
I was gonna say, it's really cool to see, developers taking advantage of the things that are out there with crowdfunding that we have now today, and then really with technology getting to the point where you're able to have smaller teams and make higher quality products. So can you talk about maybe some of your guys' design thoughts on when you after you had Labyrinth, in your prototype, what led you guys to pick your specific game engine that you're going to build it in, and some of the other design choices that led you to choose that route instead of others?
Sure. Free Range, probably best first decision we made was early on we adopted Unity as our game engine. We were actually probably one of the first teams, like console in the world, to really go all in on Unity. This is 2010. So, and over the years, it's like anything, a game engine is something that the best engine in the world is the one that everybody knows. So, because we've got such an enormous amount of knowledge now built up around Unity, it was a no-brainer that we'd use that for Labyrinth. We didn't even consider anything
there wasn't
else.
even really discussion.
And what Unity allows us to do is is to do things that we wouldn't dream of doing if we were making a console game in the mid 2000s, because you could just do it with a team size that's so much smaller than ever before. So what it lets you do is dream bigger on a smaller budget and still have super high quality bar expectations.
Yeah, we spend so much more time making the game than making the technology that makes the game run than we would have, just 10 years ago. It's really the advent of engines like Unity and Unreal has moved into this direction as well. Has really allowed small studios like us to dream much bigger than we would have before. Because again, we spend so much more time just designing and trying to make fun than we do, just trying to solve.
Yeah. But for instance sake, if you took a game like Spider-Man Web of Shadows we did, I would say 3/4 of the money was getting the engine to a place where you could make a game.
Yeah.
And it's just like this sunk cost to a consumer. They don't even know that you made the rendering faster or whatever. It's like,
right.
So really having something like Unity lets us rely on the 100 of graphics programmers that are working at Unity and count them as part of our team members.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that is a big deal, and I think you're right. A lot of the average player base doesn't realize, what goes into that kind of thing, and the fact that I guess that large a portion of your budget had to go just to that is actually kind of crazy when you think about it. So, yeah, the freedom to be able to, just do what you want to do here and not have to worry about that kind of thing must be, I guess, liberating for you, in a sense.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And the iteration time is everything in games. And another thing Unity is really strong at is like you basically can think of something, and it's almost easier to do it in Unity than to draw it out on paper. So it's like it just becomes this like natural prototyping tool, unless you try out ideas and iterate just incredible pace.
That's pretty cool.
Nice.
So a question that I had, or that I wanted to kind of make out there, so people can start getting get their heads wrapped around what the game is trying to do on the CCG element. I'm a long-time player of Magic, and I really, the way that the mechanics are designed there just work really well for accessibility and then depth. Can you guys talk a little bit about some of your choices with the card mechanics and how you, I guess, how you want to give that feel to players and satisfy those CCG players like myself that love, the interaction of mechanics on the cards and how you can combo and things like that?
Yeah, well, for starters, the one thing that we're bringing just from the core concept of the game that's different from your traditional CCG is we've got the map. And that, when you're targeting something, when you're moving your characters, position is a really important thing. And so you've got cards now caring about and interacting with position on the map, and that ends up kind of defining how combat plays out. Defining how we even design the cards. In that range, needs to be taken into consideration for everything that you do. And so it's a new design space, right? And there's a whole number of mechanics that now get opened up because you're caring about who's next to who and how do I get across the map or getting across the map efficiently. And so that's kind of the core of it. And then the other kind of main innovation is that instead of going with a monosystem or something like a monosystem where you've got this resource that grows over time, that's something that's a central pillar to just about every collectible card game out there. Instead of going with that, we wanted to go with something that felt a little bit more like an RPG. And so our resource is actually time. So we've got this, we call it the tick system, that every action that you take, instead of paying a mana cost, you're paying essentially a time cost. So if you've got your main hero and he uses his blade strike, that blade strike might cost 3 ticks. And that means that he plays that, but he can't act now for 3 ticks of the clock. And so rather than having, this is my team's turn and my opponent team's turn, and it's very discrete like that. It's that each character, in a sense, has their own turns, and they end up getting kind of interwoven, and it turns into this really interesting, tactical strategy. But then you're also combining that with, what cards do I have in my hand, and I'm going to do this thing now so that on the next tick, my priest character is going to double down, or actually I would reverse that. My priest character is going to hit this guy with a curse, and then my warrior is going to step in on the very next tick and hit the guy, and it does double damage. Things like that. So you end up having combos that aren't just combos of combos, they're also combos of kind of tactical strategy, combos of position and time. And it's a bit hard to describe just in words, but when you see the game in play, it's very, very easy to understand.
I think also it's worth mentioning, I'll kind of let you guys do it, but as far as card design and balance and all that, you have a pretty relevant partner in that, do you not?
Yes, absolutely. So some time ago, about a year ago, we teamed up with Stoneblade, funded by Justin Gary, and also their lead designer there is John Fiorillo. And their team was originally founded by, they're all former professional Magic players. They met on the Pro Tour circuit back in the mid-2000s and said, hey, we want to work together. And they worked together, I believe, at Upper Deck, and then many years later they decided, hey, we're going to form our own company, and they formed Stoneblade. They're responsible for Ascension, and they're also responsible for Soulforge, which they kickstarted about 2 years ago. Again, a digital collectible card game, and it's got its community going on. And so we met Justin, and immediately just took to each other, just instantly bonded, had very same design sensibilities, and we were sharing this game that we started where we were making time.
Labyrinth, and he was super excited about it. He's like, this is the thing I want to work on, because it was pushing all the same buttons. Like the game is just the game he's always wanted to make, and so right away it just became this very natural partnership. And what we get with them is, we're all Magic players. I'm a Magic player going back 20 years. What we get with them is they have really in the pure design side of CCGs. Both on the games that they worked on at Stoneblade, but also even before that. And so they're contributing very heavily to the card design, the card balance, and just iterating on that, because it's an important thing, of course, beating card game. And so I'm really looking forward to the end result of our collaboration.
One of the goals, this is like a lofty goal. Again, it's one of the things that you kind of embarrassed saying out loud, but we want Labyrinth to be a game that people play for decades, like Magic. And to do that, you have to have timeless qualities. And so on my end, my responsibility is like make this juggernaut, awesome developer that has the best people in the world working on Labyrinth. And so when I think of the Stoneblade guys, you're not going to find better game designers, collectible card game designers than they are. But on the other side, we're also getting the best artists in the world. So we partnered with a concept art house called Massive Black, who is just responsible for concepting, take your AAA game and they worked on
movies. I mean, they worked on the Transformers movies. They worked on
So awesome high-end concept artists, and same with a Super Genius, which is another great art house. So we're really just trying to do everything right, and so spend just an enormous amount of time on the lore of the game, on the character backgrounds, on all the character art, making sure that it's this kind of beautiful thing.
Yeah, one of the things that immediately stood out to me about your guys' game was just the quality of the art, just on the cards, the graphics and stuff like that really stood out as something that I wasn't quite expecting from, small studio for one, and also, somebody, a program that's on Kickstarter, looking for funding. That was really impressive to see. And the reason that I kind of pointed out is because when you see stuff like that, just the attention to detail there really gives you a lot more, hope that the other elements that, you don't get to see yet because the game is still in alpha, are getting that same attention to detail. So I'm pretty excited to see as you guys update your campaign and you're able to show more, and then get into early access next year. What all the other stuff you guys have been putting time into, and like you said, with it being a game kind of set to have a very long time frame, and all the complexity that can add to the game, it should be pretty exciting to be a part of. So I'm really interested to get into it. But can you guys talk a little bit about what your plans are? I mean, you can't talk too far in the future, obviously, but what your plans are as far as expansion packs or some other things that are pretty typical for CCGs like Hearthstone and Magic?
Yes. Well, like you said, we can't go too much into specifics because the main thing that we're focusing on right now is just finishing the core game and the core set and making sure that that's as solid and really kind of like really delivering on the vision of the game. But we are thinking about expansion and putting that stuff right now. I will say that the main thing that I can say is that we're going to be expanding the game right from the start. That as soon as the content part of our team, the artists and the designers, have wrapped up the core set, which would be before the core set is officially launched, that they'll already be rolling on to doing expansion. Now, exactly what form those expansions take, that I can't really get into specifics. Definitely there will be expansions of card sets, but we also have some other ideas for exciting things that we could do. That because ultimately the game has got some fundamental innovations on the CCG idea. There's different ways that we can expand it than just doing expansions of card packs. So it's something we're looking forward to spoiling for the time being. We're focusing on all of our energies into the Kickstarter and getting the core set out there. But yeah, believe me, I'm
I've got a couple years all penciled in a spreadsheet somewhere. So
Nice.
That's very cool. Yeah, I think for me personally, as somebody who would be considering backing, having that, knowing that there's something planned in the future, would be a big thing to me as far as backing, getting in early and starting to build that collection that is going to grow, and you're going to get a lot of use out of. So very cool to know that's coming in the future.
Yeah, I think it's also just good to hear that everyone can say, oh, we want our game to last forever, but the fact that you're actually like already thinking about it and kind of while you're still working on this, at least have the thoughts in your head of kind of sketching out plans for the future. I think it's just good to hear for potential players that yeah, you really are dedicated to that idea. Like, it is something that even now when the game is not even early access, you're already thinking about ways to make it sustainable for the long term. So I think that's an extremely important topic to be aware of.
Just to kind of echo what Bradley was saying, again, because this is a digital game, there's things that we can do that are is not just adding more packs, which is awesome. I mean, I think we're not going to spoil it, but there are really mapped out expansion packs that is like really cool story elements. It's going to be great, but just when you think about it, it's like, well, we have this awesome asynchronous multiplayer game. It's very obvious the different things we can do. Whereas like, go do a synchronous PvP, do some cool co-op campaign modes, things like that. That's just, you start thinking about that, and it's like, oh, and guilds and guild wars and things. It's like, oh my god, it just goes on, and it's all a very natural extension of this marriage of tactical RPGs and CCGs. So it's this thing. It's like we really do feel like we are at this kind of creating a new category of games. There's just so many places. So exciting.
I think that.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. And I think the important thing to mention here too, and just like the audience understands, is that part of like the excitement here and why we can do, and why we're looking at you guys being able to do a bunch of different things is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not just, well, it's an RPG that you play cards with, or it's a card game that just looks like an RPG. You're looking to really create a fully fleshed out experiences for both ends of that spectrum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I was going to ask, I didn't know if you guys had been asked anything like this before, but coming after your kind of initial prototype, on the table stage, when you guys kind of finally decided that this would be best served as a digital game, can you maybe talk about some games maybe that inspired you guys, or that you look to for good examples for business models or things like that, other successful digital games that you guys, looked at as inspiration and that are doing things similar but differently than you?
Well, they're really free. So I'd been working on the game, like I said, for a while before we started to see a number of announcements of other digital CCGs, and the one that I think that really put the wind in our sails was Hearthstone. When Blizzard decided that they were going to enter this space. And of course, they, unbeknownst to us, had been working on this idea for a long, long time before it was announced to the public. But when they decided that they were going to move into this space, in a way, it kind of legitimized some of our thinking. There is a lot of design space to be had here. There are so many different fun games that can be done that are using this model, and so that really was more encouraging to us than anything. And then there was also Hex CCG. Or TCG, they call it, on Kickstarter, that was this runaway success. And I was a backer myself. I couldn't wait to get involved in that game. But then also, kind of on the more indie side, like us, we got Duelist, which I think is just awesome. I played a good amount of that in the alpha. And I would say, mechanically, that's kind of the most similar to what we're doing.
Card Hunter.
Yeah, Card Hunter, actually, yeah, Card Hunter as well. It was another one, combining the RPG and the CCG thing. And in each of those, we saw some reflections of some of the ideas that we had, and we also saw some innovations that were kind of surprising and fun. But at the end of the day, there was still this core idea of the adventure. I'm going on an adventure, and I'm playing against other players who've created, in a sense, they've created an adventure for me. That was something that we've always had, as that was the kind of the beating heart of the idea. But yeah, there are several other games that that are really kind of exciting in this space.
Very cool.
Yeah. All right, guys.
So,
actually, I've got to be heading out, but it's been awesome talking to you. And
yeah, really appreciate you coming
I
on.
really
We're pretty
appreciate
much
everybody
right at the
helping
end.
us get the message out, because we really do feel like we're onto something really special here.
Yeah, I think so too. I've been, had my eyes out there looking at a lot of different games lately, and just seeing a variance of different games trying to cross between genres. Some with good plans, some with not so good plans. But I really like what you guys have set up. The Kickstarter looks really good, and like I said before, your attention to detail looks really good. So there aren't really any red flags at all. I would see, for anybody that's looking to back this and get involved. I think it's a really good choice, and a really good looking game. So very excited to see what it brings in the future. But we loved having you guys on, and we appreciate you guys showing us a little bit of the game and getting an idea for what this is going to be so that we can share it.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Alex.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thanks,
Really.
Jeremy.
Yeah. Really great for you guys to have us on.
No, it's
Yeah,
been
and
an awesome
if I was
conversation.
thinking this, watching this, the one thing that we are trying to figure out is, what do we call this genre or this category?
Right.
So if anybody's got any ideas of what do you call an
Yeah.
RPG mixed with a collectible card game,
Yeah.
the best we have right now is Card PG.
Card PG.
So,
Nice. Yeah.
Which I don't think it's terrible.
Hey, it works for me. Yeah, I'll be putting some thought into it too. I'm sure that I'll be writing about your guys' game quite a bit more as we see it evolve and see this new. I really think that it has a potential, like you guys are hoping for, kind of bringing this new genre into existence. And as somebody who really kind of digs into the design mechanics, the element you mentioned about not having mana and using this ticking clock, and that interweaving players' turns really, I think, sets it apart in the ability to merge that CCG element with that RPG. So that's something I'll really be paying attention to. But we do want to thank you guys for coming on. Of course.
well, next time we come on, let's do that. Let's play the game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. I would love to
absolutely.
do that. Yeah, we'll get some shared screen.
100%. You guys welcome to come back anytime if you got something to show for sure.
Yes.
As you can tell, we love talking about the game. We can't stop talking about the game.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we'll wrap up here then. Everybody who might be watching this on YouTube, check out 10 Ton Hammer's Twitch channel. Check out 10tonhammer.com. That's where the majority of our content is, and you'll see more stuff about Labyrinth on there. You can find out more of the game from their Kickstarter, which I'll put in the description. But yeah, we choose Twitch as a platform because we love having the audience interacting. Everybody in the audience, thank you for coming. See a lot of familiar faces, and it's been really active, a lot of questions being asked. So if you missed out on the live experience, tune in for future episodes so that you can participate and engage with the developers like these guys here from Labyrinth. So Chris, Bradley, Wayne in the background there, thank you guys. It was a good experience, and thanks for answering the questions for people. We enjoyed it, and we're glad you got to talk about it a little bit.
That was a lot of fun, guys.
All right, thanks a lot.
All right.
Take
Thanks,
care.
guys.
Take care.
Yep.
You too.